Welcome to the Fantasy Q&A, where today I will be reacting and answering all questions related to fantasy football and all things NFL. This will, hopefully, be the start of a weekly video series, and if you have a question that needs to be answered, a hot take for me to react to, or a player you want me to dissect and analyze, leave a comment down below, and follow the channel to see more videos like this one. So let's just dive right in. The first question here is, Tyreek Hill not dead yet? We'll have to see. If you don't know, I think it was around week 4 is when he completely destroyed his knee. Multiple ligaments torn ACL, dislocated knee, and even when he was getting carted off, smiling, laughing about it. And I thought in this moment, as a dynasty owner of Tyreek Hill, that could be the end of his career right there. Like, not just the end of Miami, because we all knew that, but I thought it could be the end of his whole career. I kind of just, I just threw him out there at the end of a trade for just a couple cents and a Tomato Joe's coupon. Like, I was pretty sure his career was done. But now that we're looking back at it, it's like he kind of wants to come back. It's who is he going to come back to? Everyone's saying Kansas City is like the big place he could go. Maybe another contender. Some people have been mentioning a couple other teams like the Bills and the Seahawks. The Bills I can kind of see, they're okay. As a Seahawks fan myself, I don't think Tyreek Hill will really fit into our offense. We already have a lot of like speedy deep ball guys already. We don't really need another one. But if you're assessing what the value is, this is definitely a dynasty pick, because I think he's gonna kind of fall into the same realm as what are some recent examples? Like Antonio Brown. Remember when Antonio Brown went to the Bucks and was there with Tom Brady and was there when he won the Super Bowl? And he was their third wide receiver. There was Mike Evans and there was Chris Godwin and there was Antonio Brown. That's how I see, if he goes back to the Chiefs, I think he's going to be a decent depth piece. I think he's going to fulfill a good role as a receiver, but there's a good chance his speed could be shot. You know, he's coming after the age of 30. I just don't know. I just don't know how much you can actually get out of him. Maybe another comparison is Cooper Kupp from this last year on Seattle. I could see him being in that slot of getting a few catches a game, maybe making a big play and being like, I'm back. Remember Cam Newton going like, I'm back, baby, I'm back. And he was only back for 2 games. That's kind of where I see Tyreek if he comes back. If he decides not to come back, he had a pretty much near Hall of Fame level career. If you're trying to assess the value of him at this point in Dynasty, I'd say 3rd round pick. Like a 3rd round pick, I think is very fair for where he could be, because you never know if he's going to play again. But if he does get the chance to play, there's big name value there. I tried to trade him away. If you like the idea of getting Tyreek Hill on your team, go for it. If you're not excited about the 3rd round picks this year, I wouldn't blame you. It wasn't a very stacked rookie class. Take the risk. Why not? All right, next question. Is Saquon worth a 1st round draft pick? Now, I'm actually higher on Saquon this year to have a bit of a bounce back, especially after last season where it seemed it was very, very disappointing coming off his incredible 2,000-yard seasons. One of the best seasons you'll see from a running back, especially this generation, you know, created the new like Odell Beckham type play of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he made that play. But coming out of that, he was running back 14 this last year? If you're going by PPR standards, it was just a very bad season. I think he's going to be an upgrade over that, but from where he is going right now, I wouldn't use 1st round draft capital on him. If you're that high on Saquon and think he's going to be like right back to form, I'm not going to be able to dissuade you against it. You know, I think he's more of a 2nd round pick, like mid 2nd round, maybe early 2nd round. I kind of have him in my RB rankings as RB9 right now, because there's no real consistency with the OCs on this team. It always changes every year. Last year was Kevin Patullo. He's gone now. That's a great thing. That's a good thing. We all love that. Well, now it's going to be Sean Mannion. I remember him, former quarterback of the Rams. He beat the Seahawks in the playoffs. I still haven't gotten over that. But in terms of an offensive coordinator, I have no idea. He's never been in this position before. He's only been coaching in the NFL for 1 or 2 years now, so it's a complete unknown at this point. But you have to figure it has to be a little bit better than it was with Kevin Patullo. I still think Saquon is a super talented running back. I still think there is great value with him. He is still behind a really good offensive line. It should be a good season. Is he worth a 1st round draft pick? For me, not that high, but it's close. He's worth a 2nd rounder, mid 2nd, early 2nd if you're really high on him. Again, RB9. It's higher than it was last season. There's still a little bit of a bounce back, but it's not quite at the level where you see him back to his old self. All right, let's keep this moving along. Is first 5 games of Egbuka real or week 6 through 17? Okay, so what I think this person's trying to say is that this upcoming season with Emeka Egbuka, are we going to get Jekyll or Hyde? Are we going to get the Egbuka that was incredible the first 6 weeks of the season, that everyone got behind and it's like, this is going to be the new star fantasy wide receiver? Or are we going to get the version, I don't even think it was week 6 through 17. It was probably more like week 10, week 11 to the end, where it just really all fell downhill. And I can probably point as to why. The first 6 weeks, I remember thinking to myself, man, he is making the most of his opportunities, but that also, he wasn't getting a huge amount of opportunities. He was only getting a few catches every game. He was getting the most out of it. He was getting touchdowns, but if you took touchdowns out of it, he was doing just okay for a rookie wide receiver. He was doing good. He was doing fine. It was when all the injuries started to happen. It was when Mike Evans went down and Chris Godwin was still out and Jalen McMillan had been out all this time. Egbuka was the only one left. And I think that really exposed some of his flaws. I think it led teams to covering him a lot more. And honestly, the chemistry with him and Baker really was not there. It regressed. They had less than 50% completions on targets. One of the weeks he had like 9 targets for 2 receptions. It was some awful games in there. And I think all that put together, which Egbuka are you going to get? Are you going to get the good or the bad? Personally, I'm kind of like in the middle. And that's kind of where a lot of people have him as well. If you look at ADP, he's like wide receiver 22, which is very fair. I kind of have him around 23, 24. It's pretty much around that area because people are trying to be safe with him. I think what the Bucs want going into this season is I think they want Egbuka to be that guy. They want Egbuka to be their go-to number 1 receiver, even though they have multiple receivers there. It's not exactly the offensive setup where, let me paint a picture. Mike Evans is gone, right? Mike Evans is going to the Niners. With him gone, I don't think it's as simple as, oh, with him gone, all the targets are now going to go to Egbuka and Godwin, so they're going to get more. I don't think that's exactly how it's going to happen. They might get a little bit more, but this offense always seemed to me like it was more stuck in their roles. Like Egbuka has his role, Godwin has his role, and that's not really going to change depending on who's there and not there. I think they'll get roughly the same amount of targets as they were last season because someone else is going to take over Mike Evans' role in the X slot, whether that's Jalen McMillan, whether that's Ted Hurst, really like Ted Hurst, to fill that deep ball, big time wide receiver. I'm not saying they're going to be as good as Mike Evans, but they're going to sure as heck try to put someone into that spot. And they're going to give him some of those targets. So I guess this is a long way of saying that I personally think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. If you're higher on Egbuka, he could be anywhere from like top 15 wide receiver, like a good top 15 wide receiver, a wide receiver 1 to outside the top 30. For me, I'm just going to keep safe. He's not someone I'm going out of my way to try to draft. I'm going to try to move to other people around that position. Maybe someone like Luther Burden, who's also risky, but I want to take the chance on that in that offense. But if you're into Egbuka, go for it. We're going to keep this moving along. Will Josh Jacobs miss time due to the BS he did recently or what? Too early to tell. It is definitely a little too early to fully put this together. It is an ongoing investigation, but the most we can do is what we've seen from previous players in previous seasons. Most famously, Rashee Rice. We've seen some of these situations before where the NFL takes a long time, and I mean a long time. The NFL would prefer to delay things than to try to rush them, so they're just going to push this along, and they're going to move it probably towards next season. I think that's probably a little bit more likely, but there is the other option, which is he will get suspended later in the season, which has happened before with someone like Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott had a season where he didn't get suspended right away, but later in the season, he was suspended for 3 games. So I think we're either looking at a Rashee Rice, where there's too much going on and they're just going to wait till next season to figure it all out, or option B, it's Ezekiel Elliott, and once you figure out enough info, you wait till later in the year to do the suspension. Or option C, jail time. Personally, I think option A, the Rashee Rice option, is the most likely just off of previous history, off of what we've already seen. And if that's the case, you got to go and pick up Josh Jacobs. Like, he's going right now as the RB16. You can get him pretty late in drafts depending on how good of a player he is. And his role in the offense is super integral. Last season, I think people forget, before the injuries, because injuries kind of cooled him off, he was the RB5. He was getting touchdowns every single game. It was always like, how are we going to get the offense rolling? Keep Josh Jacobs moving. Keep giving him the ball. Get him the ball in the red zone. He's going to get all the touchdowns for this team, especially since their passing game has taken a step back. It already wasn't super strong before, but now they're without Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks. Christian Watson is a good receiver, but only when he's healthy. He's injured a lot, all the time. You have Jaden Reed, but he's a bit of just a kind of a deep threat. They don't use him as much more than a gadget player. Matthew Golden, I wasn't super high on Golden, so a lot of it is dependent on him breaking out, which I'm not so sure if that's going to happen. The best receiving threat they have easily is Tucker Kraft, and I love Tucker Kraft, but we don't even know if he's going to come back fully healthy off of that ACL surgery. Again, it's an ongoing investigation. Just keep your eyes peeled and your ears open, and you'll be able to find something. All right, we got one more question here. Will Kyler take the next step this October? Can he go pro at Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4? Yeah, absolutely. I think this is his year. If anything, football is the one that's getting in the way. If it wasn't for football, dude, he'd be top 100, easy. Modern Warfare 4. In all seriousness, I actually like Kyler Murray. I actually like Kyler Murray a lot more than most people. And I can see why people don't like him. He hasn't been as good recently the last couple of years. Last season, he lost his starting job to Jacoby Brissett. You have all the reason to not like him, but it goes a little far. It goes a little freaking far when you think that he can't beat out JJ McCarthy for a starting QB job. JJ McCarthy, that JJ McCarthy, the guy who can't throw accurately short, medium, or long passes. The guy that can't stay healthy long enough to be on the field for more than 3 games. The guy that in no way, shape, or form looked like he deserved to be on an NFL field, ready in any way whatsoever. That's the guy that's going to beat out Kyler Murray. Okay, get out of here. You know, at some point, you just got to put your foot down and just say no. He's going to one of the best teams he could have gone to. The Minnesota Vikings, I know they haven't looked as good. Him and Kyle Shanahan, I'm talking about Kevin O'Connell, and Kyle Shanahan, they haven't looked great at developing young QBs, but they've brought out the best in veteran QBs. If you look at the Niners, recently, you can look at Mac Jones. With the Vikings, you can look at Sam Darnold. You can look at Kirk Cousins. Daniel Jones, I know he wasn't there for a long time. I know he didn't start with the Vikings, but the way he talks about them sure seems like they left a hell of an impact on him. They know how to take veterans with a lot of raw talent like Kyler Murray and bring out the best in them. If there was any team that could get him back to form, that can get him back to any sort of relevance, it's him. It's Kevin O'Connell. It's the Vikings. And let's not act like this hasn't happened already. There are so many other quarterbacks I haven't even mentioned that have done this recently. Geno Smith, I know he's not looking great right now, but on the Seahawks, for a couple years, he looked pretty good, didn't he? Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill. This has happened a lot the last few years. To say that Kyler can't do it after what we've seen the last 7 seasons with him, come on, we got to be better than that. Now, what's his value for fantasy? What's the value here in terms of, because I kind of have him rated, if every QB were to start, I kind of have him rated a little lower just to be safe, just to be cautious at QB 17. But that's only if every QB stays healthy, which never is the case. If Kyler Murray can have a fully healthy season, I could see him right back in the top 10 again, especially if Kevin O'Connell can bring back a little bit of the juice that has been missing from the last few years with him. Alright, before the video ends, I'm going to try to talk about one player, one completely random player, one that I will pick from a random generator, and I will talk about and dissect their value for this upcoming season. And if there is a specific player that you want me to talk about, leave a comment down below. Alright, who are we going to get? Trevor Lawrence. Alright, yeah, I can talk about Trevor. I actually really like the Jaguars going into this season. I think a lot of people might be forgetting, hopefully not. I'm hoping you're not forgetting exactly what he did last season, what this whole offense did last season under Liam Cohen, which was they just looked incredible. There was a reason people thought going into the playoffs they could be a dark horse candidate for the Super Bowl because Trevor Lawrence was performing at a level we haven't seen of him before. It was the best we have seen from him ever. And I find this whole offense uniquely fascinating because it covers a lot of really interesting players, but not a lot with a clear consensus of, oh, this guy's going to be incredible for fantasy. All the receivers are Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas and Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington, all trying to figure out who's going to be the biggest target coming out of that. Brenton Strange is in the mix as well. Then you go over to the running backs. You have Baishal Tootin, who he could be really good, but we don't really know. And we have Chris Rodriguez over there, who is kind of an underrated running back from the Commanders, a pretty good runner on his own. So maybe he's just the first couple down runners and Baishal Tootin's just more of the pass catching back. But guess what? What all this has in common is that this is all going to benefit Trevor Lawrence. It's all going to benefit the quarterback. He is the one guy in all of this where I'm like, he's probably going to have a good season. If they look even half as good as they did at the end of last season, he will be one of the better quarterbacks in the entire NFL this year. And he will be one of the better fantasy bargains this year because he is right now outside at the top 10. He's going at like number 11, maybe right at number 10 in some ADP right now. I have him ranked very similarly as well, kind of like tentatively after last season, because I don't know how much of what he did last year is going to be replicated. Obviously, he's not going to be playing the whole season like that. He would easily be the QB1 if that were the case. He ended the season last year as the QB4. That is insane from how good he did in those last 6 weeks that led to that kind of ranking. But we've seen this before with him. There actually have been 1 or 2 seasons where you can see the proof in the pudding of he does a lot better the later the season gets. As long as he's healthy, that's been a bit of a trend with him in previous seasons. In his second year, I remember that specifically. Overall, I expect him to be a very good QB1 that you can get much later into your drafts if you're looking to draft a QB on a budget, but he has the potential to really break out. If everything with Liam Cohen's offense works the way that I think it's going to work, then he is going to be even top 5 possibly yet again. Thanks again for watching. If you want to support a simpleton like me, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I will see you all, hopefully, next time.